You know, as a black man, as someone that finds this entire situation hilarious, I think I can speak like a universal language that everyone can understand and follow along with. And honestly, I'm gonna say it right now. Gaming discourse is in the fucking mud. No nuance, no critical thinking skills, no proper assessments on anything, no research, nothing. Some of these people will get on a video or get on a tweet and they will absolutely mouth breathe and slobber and grift. This is by far one of the worst eras I think it has become for talking about video games in general on the internet. And I mean that whole chest. Like, this is the worst era to converse with people on video games, because some of the stuff that they claim and the delusion and denial, it makes no sense. What am I talking about today? Well, clearly you saw the title. This is about Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, some normal people out there, some casuals who don't give a fuck, and I think the casual gaming mindset of not giving a fuck about any of this stuff going on and just playing your game in bliss, not even noticing social media sites with all this controversy on it, that might be the best way to go. But today, Ubisoft made a cinematic trailer. Now, cinematic trailers don't do anything for me. They show a piece of the game that's going to be like proof and concept, and I'm not really all about that. I need to see raw gameplay. I feel like cinematics can be like, well, Ubisoft lied to us about cinematics before with Watch Dogs, even in gameplay. So there's that vertical slice that it's like, oh, will this game be downgraded? You know, you think about these things, blah blah blah. And the most important thing to some people is they wake up in the morning and they go, oh, there's a black samurai, no way that should happen. There's a black warrior that's in the Edo Sengoku period or anything like that. There's no way this should occur, unless he's like relative to the nationality and continent and the creed and all that stuff. Unless he's relative to that particular land being either Japanese and being a Japanese swordsman, then there's no way that Yasuke existed, right? We're literally trying to go back and do revisionist history. Yasuke was born in Mozambique. He was a man, likely of African origin, who served as a servant and retainer to the Japanese daimyo Oda Nobunaga in 1581 to 1582 during the Sengoku period. He was retained as a koshu for a period of 15 months until Nobunaga's death in the Hanawichi incident. I hope I said that right, because I'm terrible at saying and pronouncing Japanese stuff, but you get the general gist that Yasuke is in the history books, and he did indeed exist. And this person's argument is, well, Assassin's Creed games were set in Italy. It should go like, it's set in Italy, you should play as an Italian man. The game was set in France, you should play as a Frenchman. All these games were set in relatively different time periods, and you played as the person with that background and that history. Even though Edward Kenway is British and mostly AC4 takes place in the Caribbean. So what is the excuse then? What do you mean by we play in Japan in Assassin's Creed Shadows and they're saying the part out loud where you're playing as a black warrior? You know the part they're saying out loud for you, the idiots, that you don't notice is this woman right here of Japanese and Asian descent, and you're playing as two protagonists in this game, not one. The part out loud is having like different protagonists that, you know, correlates to your shitty logic either way with one half. I don't know what you're trying to say, but it's something that I fail to understand. It's alien language. It is something that is, for lack of a better word, nonsensical. All right, like what is this? What has gaming discourse become? Like, you tell me. And like, just to sort of piggyback off of what he said, like, oh, and other people said this too, Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't have a Japanese protagonist, the game is racist. Bro, she's literally right there. Are you blind? I think you're blind. Like, you could talk about the history all you want and argue the fact of, oh, well, Yasuke, was he a samurai or was he a retainer? He wasn't an actual samurai. I've seen people debate that, and I'm not gonna delve deep into that because, you know, there's one side saying he was, there's another side saying he wasn't. I think the bigger issue here is we see cool characters on display that could be awesome, right? And the first thing that jumps to someone's mind is DEI or Sweet Baby or some other dumb shit without any proper assessment whatsoever. Tons of revisionist history and getting mad and getting butthurt as I continue to go into the video. And like I say, this is the dumbest post of all time. He says the game tries to be woke, picks Yasuke, a black man who was treated like a novelty item in a racist way by Nobunaga. All right, as far as I know, number one, there was an incident where Nobunaga told Yasuke, hey, clean your skin is too dirty, clean it up, without recognizing he couldn't because he is an African man. So there was no dirt on him whatsoever. That's his skin. That could be seen as a derogatory comment. I understand that. But number two is that, well, Nobunaga still promoted him to a great retainer anyway. Promotions are seen as like signs of honor, respect, some sort of a comradeship as we go along in history. Like, that's a high order for even him. So for him to be racist would be for him to have Yasuke as a slave, and that's it. Beating Yasuke every day, that's really bad. That's looking beneath Yasuke as opposed to promoting him as a retainer. And number three, I don't think that skin scrubbing story will probably be even remotely at the forefront of this game anyway. It could be possible, it could be a thing, but what AC likes to do is kind of write their own history, even with historical accuracies and historical inaccuracies as well. When you boot up Assassin's Creed Mirage, it even says, hey, we're inspired by historical events and characters. This work of fiction was designed and developed and produced by a multicultural team of various beliefs, sexual orientations, and gender identities, showing that it's not really going in a way that is a destruction of the Japanese people as you claim. I mean, were people saying that about Ghost of Tsushima, Neo, or anything of that nature? No. And I know it's like differing situations, but Ghost was made by like an American team and they handled it pretty well. Neo had William as the protagonist, and I know he's like part of history as well, but he is not Japanese, and people still like that game. So even in various ways, whether you spin it in various directions and look at it in differing ways and see how other developers like handled subject matter of this magnitude, some of them really did it well. I haven't seen like terrible renditions. I'm sure they probably do exist, but I think it's very preemptive to call this game terrible on what cultural influence they will show if you simply haven't seen the game quite yet. I believe you're jumping the gun, jumping to conclusions, and when you do that, sometimes, mostly 9 times out of 10 for grifters, they end up getting something wrong. I mean, if you want me to be really technical. I guess misjudging a book by its cover really doesn't work out for everyone now, does it? Again, maybe the game won't even involve any of those overtones whatsoever. Like, I think you're maybe thinking about it a little bit too deeply. At most, you're gonna be like a bruiser character, just fucking shit up, slashing people up and whatnot. There's nothing to really correlate to any of these bad faith arguments until the game drops and we see a full glimmer of what is in the story, what these characters do, and I think they're gonna keep it bare bones basic, like what you would expect in a fantasy like tale of Assassin's Creed, because there is fantasy elements in these games, no matter how many people say it's supposed to be 100% historically accurate. All right, there's inaccuracies in Assassin's Creed. Let's not kid ourselves. We see it with this, the giant Anubis god, the pieces of Eden. Look at this, these giant like Fenrir wolves. Look at that, that's Medusa, clearly, that you're fighting right there. Some Medusa snake-like enemy. I don't know, there's definitely fantasy elements in Assassin's Creed and historical inaccuracies, and it's just all boiled down to gameplay elements, right? The stuff that will look cool to see on screen, and I thought it was always like that when they made moves like this in gameplay. So then, even then, everything is not historically accurate despite them picking certain time periods. It's cool to see their own take on it, and I think that's why we have something called creative freedom and creative liberties to make differing and thought-provoking stories that's not 100% accurate to the tale, but it has those elements in there that people can sort of grasp at and discuss. There's no problem with that. I find that to be no issue, but once again, it seems like people are trying to turn this into a race thing because Yasuke was selected. I'm Asian, and Ubisoft decided to erase me and replace me in a game about my own country. Isn't that what they would say if they made Assassin's Creed Shadows a white dude? Why are they okay with it when they picked a black dude? Like, I don't know, my brain is formulating like a bad exe, like it just died reading that. I think it's okay if the character is awesome. Like a little shrug there, like, come on. I think it's okay if the character is awesome, whether white, black, Latino, Puerto Rican, mixed, Japanese. If the character succeeds in being great with story, characterization, motives, objectives, backstory, history, ties to other characters, family connections, if all that stuff pays off, none of what you posted here matters. The color of the skin doesn't matter. They succeeded in representing that character if they come off in a way where you are fully immersed in the story presented. This is basic common sense 101. I'm not speaking in tongues, I'm speaking in fact. Like, I think you would normally understand and get this when a game comes out and you gauge it and you say, you know, if it is represented well and done well, hey, this is pretty good. Why not continue in this direction? I want to see differing things with Assassin's Creed. That's what they're doing with this game as I lose my voice. Excuse me. That's what they're doing with this game, and that's what they're doing with Hexy, which takes place during the Salem era. Or back in the Witch era, or whatever they do with it. It's interesting to me. And I want to see more of it. And then there's this war of, I'm not gonna spend way too much time on this. Apparently they're witch hunting whoever edits the wikia of Yasuke's life and the lack of proof of him being a samurai. Again, it's Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be edited by anyone, right? Someone correct me in the comments. Like, isn't Wikipedia an open source where you can edit all sorts of information? That's why I don't use Wikipedia anymore for sources, because anyone can get in there and scribble and type a little tippy type. They can get up in there and fucking say whatever they want. Like, at this point, I'm sure there's moderators like watching the site and seeing if there's any big fuck ups, but as far as I know, anyone can get their hands on it and type something in. So you talk about revisionist history, I'm pretty sure there's more revisionist history with that website than I could even fathom. And here's the no nasty stuff. All right, Persona speaks here, and he's showing his enthusiasm. It's saying nothing like antagonistic or derogatory to anyone in terms of their race or anything involving this situation. Like, he just said he's getting in the game day one, and he posted a flexing African-American emote. Typical stuff. And the responses are, of course, the black guy wants to buy a game. His skin color is destroying. There truly are races that are trying to infiltrate gaming with responses like this. Like, just nasty, deplorable, despicable people doing this, posting the African stereotype. I hate people too. It was like, the one guy said, I hate people. I hate people too. The less I deal with people is kind of bliss in the process, but you kind of have to. That's life. And this is showing, hey, you can switch between the two characters anytime. I made a post saying, if you don't like Yasuke, just stick to stick to the main character, the secondary character, the Japanese Konoichi, or the female who has more stealth and ninja-like skills. That sounds like classic Assassin's Creed anyway, and Yasuke is like a bruiser type, and that's cool. Keeping the game varied, keeping variety within the context of how you play. I'm excited for it, right? The rest, maybe it's like a wait and see, but I have good intentions about it. We have a post here where someone is saying, for anyone complaining about Yasuke being a samurai, here is a picture of Yasuke in Samurai Warriors 5, a Japanese game, historically accurate that. I feel like I want to shift it more to, if they want to portray Yasuke as this awesome, cool, badass warrior to their own sort of volition, they are more than inclined to do that. Shokio says, a black guy and a woman as leads. Nah, I gotta hop off Twitter for the rest of the year now. We're never gonna hear the end of this. True, it seems like most of this discourse nowadays stems from the reveal of there being a character of mixed descent and a woman. That's all it boils down to. That's all I hear time in and time out. It's a woman, it's a black guy. What is the big fucking issue? There is no issue. There is none. These are the characters that Ubisoft selected going forward as the main protagonists of the game, and that's something that they wanted to do. And I wanna leave this video off of one more point here, where it's more of a optimistic and a cool point. But I'm just thinking to myself, and I replied to Kofi where he was talking about the discourse of Assassin's Creed Shadow with the Japanese Konoichi and Yasuke, the first black samurai, as he said. What's literally the problem? And I replied to him and I said, welcome to the age of fake outrage, brother. The last image is ironically from the Yasuke anime, where this discourse didn't even exist back then either. So I made this post of posting significantly cool black samurai. You have the black samurai from Guilty Gear Strive, Nago. You have him, and he's a cool character. Not my cup of tea to play with in that game in terms of playstyle, but he exists. There's good Nago players that kick my ass. Black samurai implemented in that game. Afro Samurai, which was made by the people that did Samurai Champloo, voiced by Sam Jackson. He did Afro Samurai and Ninja Ninja. And I remember back in the past, people enjoyed this anime very much. They thought it was cool. They stayed up and watched Spike TV when it came on just for this alone. And it was showing more original animation being made for syndication involving Black Samurai, which was cool. And then there's the Yasuke anime. And I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard from particular people and friends that they enjoyed what they saw so far of it. They appreciated it. At least enough to recommend it to me. Which I will definitely find the time to check out later. Where is this going? Where is my sort of discussion hindering on with this final point? My point here is that Black Samurai are cool, and they've always been cool. And seeing them represented in media, whether it's animated, you know, whether it's movies or that type of deal, it always has come off as a cool flair seeing that in motion. And none of these debates existed in the past in some time loop about any of those characters being portrayed. We saw a cool Black Samurai character in these types of fiction, and we appreciated it. Where's the love for the stuff yet again when we see cool characters and it's like, okay, cool, I want to see more of this? It's more like this scorn because of who they are as opposed to what they do, which is clean house, kick ass, and take names. Where is the coolness and the fondness when we watch things like Samurai Champloo and it had a clear hip-hop influence in the samurai media with their own tale and style, and it was just a thing that we loved back in the day? Like, let's take a listen back to memory lane here with Samurai Champloo. I don't know if I can play the intro with the music, but look, I mean, you already know what the theme is. You already know how cool it was. You know how they integrated hip-hop music into that anime alone, and that influence worked out pretty well. Why can't we just civilly embrace this stuff again like we used to? What has changed so far to where it's like, I can't have this in my media anymore, even though back then it was really fucking awesome. It was really fucking cool. I love this to death, and man, we don't have it anymore. Some days, some nights, some men, some die in the name of the samurai. Some fight, some bleed. It's, woo, that was so fucking cool with Samurai Champloo, man. I feel like it's better to live in bliss, drowning out a lot of this stupidity, and when things actually are cool in this day and age, and things are actually appealing and captivating, and I'm finally immersed into said story, no matter what happens. I think that is the most important takeaway from this. You have two different characters that you could play with, and they're giving you options of going in loud or going in quiet, and the freedom of choice and expression, and seeing, hey, which character is better, or maybe they're equally comparable, or maybe they're both good in their own ways, or maybe a character falters a bit and another character is a little bit more superior. We won't know that until launch day, and I feel like all of this is white noise. All of this is preconceived notions. All of this is irrelevant nothing burgers at the end of the day, and it quite is a sad experience to behold. People are saying gaming is ruined and dead because of situations like this, and I think that comes from a place of narrow-mindedness. That narrow-mindedness to not try to embrace the world that was created with these konoichi, with these Black Samurai, and I just want to see them do awesome and amazing assassinations on people, which is the crux of what I want in an Assassin's Creed game. things that will change the tide for the best. I'm Renegade Operative. I'm signing out. As you already know, tell me what you think about the video and the subject in question, this big fat nothing burger. Man, just, I don't know. It just gets worse from here. Until then, tell me what you think about Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed Red, Shadows, Hexy, anything down in the comment section below. I will be doing a digest of the information that we got on Assassin's Creed Shadows, general gameplay stuff. It's not going to be in this video. This is the controversy video. I want to get that out of the way first. But I will talk about all of the features they talked about so far. Maybe if there's some gameplay out there that will crop up beforehand, before I talk about all this, I will also gauge my opinion on that as well and keep you guys up to speed, fresh in the know, just for your sake. Until then, I'm all for real this time. Take care of yourselves. See you later. Oh, and P.S. according to the supposed lecturers of the world, the historically accurate clowns of the world who said Yasuke wasn't really a samurai, we have Trey Watson here, a BA, an Asian Studies major with a heavy focus on Japanese history, and he says, and I quote, "Retainers were still samurai. Yasuke was favored by Nobunaga and was by his side until the Hanoichi incident, where he ran to Nobunaga's son's residence and dueled the Akechi. It's real cope harder." And we scrolled down the list, and he also said, in feudal Japan, nobility, aka samurai, were granted property. Yasuke was Nobunaga's retainer. He was given a sword and a house, which is property, and he was paid. And when Nobunaga was killed, he rushed to defend his heir. Real life is not anime. Well, I guess there's a perfect clip, a picture perfect clip for all the pseudo intellectuals in the world who debated this topic and said that Yasuke was not a samurai.
Hey fellas, I gotta go. All right. Don't feel bad. All right. No, hey, no long faces. Think of all the fun we had. I want to thank y'all for making me feel welcome. It really did the trick. All right. Oh, by the way, suck my dick.